And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Namaste Center. Today is June 24th, 2012, and it's great to be here today. Welcome everyone who's here live, and those of you that are tuning in maybe at a later date. It's always my pleasure to be here on Sundays and be blessed with such wonderful, wonderful speakers and teachers, because we are at a time when things are moving fast and there's a lot of good stuff out there happening. So we can just keep building up our arsenal for awakening every Sunday morning here and beyond. And today I'd like to introduce our guest, Terah Cox. And Terah is with us this morning to speak about her book, Birth Angels, which deals with the 1975 discovery of the remarkable Kabbalah tradition of the 72 angels and the Tree of Life. She's also the author of The Story of Love and Truth, which she describes as a poignant tale of forgetting and remembering what matters most. Terah has worked in the music business for some 20 years as a lyric writer, with over 150 songs recorded for CDs, TV, and film. And that career led to the formation of her word art greeting card company, heavenandearthworks.com and milestonesconnect.com e-cards. She's currently doing consultations and courses via Skype and group workshops on Birth Angels tradition, as well as hosting water retreats in Western North Carolina while finishing up her next book. So everybody, let's give Terah a nice welcome. Yeah, it's great to have you. And you're as busy as I am.
I think we're running neck and neck.
That's
maybe.
right,
Yes,
exactly. Well, yes, indeed. Well, I do have to commend you. This is actually the book that we're primarily going to focus on, Birth Angels. And then, of course, here's her other book, The Story of Love and Truth. Is it Love and Truth?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. So the one thing I want to say is these books are so beautiful, and when you pick them up, they feel good. There was a lot of love that went into these, and your materials are wonderful. So I can feel the love you put into everything, so thank you for that. So tell us, okay? Tell us the story of these birth angels and where this came from, because I think it's very interesting.
Okay. Well, to give you a little background, I was working in the music business and was referred to a young man who was with Sony in Canada, in Quebec. He was being managed by the same people that managed Celine Dion, and he was a big pop star, but he had started having dreams with spiritual symbols and instructions and wisdoms and things, and he didn't know what was happening to him, and he would go to sleep and this stuff would just come to him all night long. So he started, seeking out somebody who might be able to explain things to him, and he ran across these two people from Quebec and France who were teaching in this tradition of the 72 angels of the Tree of Life, and which was so little known throughout the world, and there wasn't anything in English about it. Quebec, of course, is French-speaking, so everything that was about the tradition was in French. So he decided to change his whole career and start writing songs of a spiritual nature. So he came to New York and he asked if he was asking around. He happened to be writing music with some friends of mine, composers, and asked if anybody knew a lyric writer who could write some sort of out there kind of stuff, and everybody immediately thought of me because I'm a little out there. So anyway, long story short, I started working with him. I started learning about the tradition. I met these people myself, and I wound up hosting workshops for them in New York. And then I became very interested in writing a book because I just felt this was too important not to be introduced to the world and to this country in particular. So this tradition was just discovered in 1975 when a grotto in Girona, Spain was excavated. And it had been walled up by the Spanish Inquisition in 1492, which is very interesting because one door closes, another one opens, as in a whole country. This grotto housed a school, had housed a school, started by Isaac the Blind in the 11th century, and the school was hosted throughout the centuries by people, originally Kabbalists who were Judaic, but they were joined by Christians, Sufis, Neoplatonists, alchemists, mystics, and scholars from many traditions. And they all had a common thread that was very important to them, was sort of their mission, and that was to bring the divine mysteries to people of all walks of life, all ages, and particularly both men and women. The Kabbalah was historically an oral teaching. For many, many centuries, nothing was written down. It was passed orally from one rabbi to another. But also, women were never allowed into these mysteries, and there were always interveners, both in the Judaic tradition and in the Christian tradition, with the priests and the Pope and all of that, where you could not, there was not this idea that you could go to God directly. You had to go, you know, you had to have an intervener and somebody explain God to you and all of this. And these people, they were sort of the New Age pioneers of their time, you know, and very much in keeping with today, with the idea that we can commune directly with the divine. There are as many ways to do it as there are people wanting to do it. And so the 72 angels of the Tree of Life, the idea is that we are full of God, and God is full of us. And through the angels, we are implanted with divine substance. So that, have you all, I'm sure you've all heard the term, that we are made in the image and likeness of God. Everybody pretty much heard that term. Have you ever wondered how that happens? You know, I started wondering it myself, and in this tradition I realized that the way that we are made in the image and likeness of God is that we are actually implanted with, infused with divine substance. And that happens through the angels. Because in this tradition, the 72 angels are actual emanations of the divine. They're not creations, they're emanations. And the difference between something that is emanated and something that is created is that an emanation is something that just, it's like an energy that flows off of and out of. It's like when we give our energy out, we are emanating our own energy. When we create something, we're taking various materials, we're giving it our heart and spirit, but we're combining various materials, you know, to actually make something that is very separate from us and yet carries our energy with it. So, so the 72 angels are emanations of the divine name and the divine qualities, and quality meaning both quantity and quality, number and meaning. And through our birth date and time, we are associated with particular angels that then are our birth angels. And when I say associated, we are actually filled with their divine stuff. Now, the Kabbalah, this aspect of the Kabbalah says we actually have almost a hologram of all 72 angels within us, but we have a particular concentration of 3 angels at least that refer specifically and correspond specifically to our life gifts, our purposes, and 3 planes of our existence actually: our physical being and life purpose, our heart and ability to create wisdom, heart wisdom, and our feelings and emotions, and our intellect, which is our ability to have awareness and intelligence. And these 3 aspects of us are the way the divine has of expressing its own being through our physical incarnation, through our physical being, and will through our will to do our purpose and our willingness, and divine love through our heart, divine mind through our intellect.
Well, it's wonderful, and there's the 72 obviously, and they all have, explain the names of these angels.
Okay, the names were discerned through these Kabbalists by a sort of decoding of Exodus, of a chapter in Exodus, and and I won't go into the detail of the exact decoding because I actually have to look at it because it's so confusing to me, but the names were discerned, and each of the names were 3 Hebrew letters. Each letter has a particular vibration and meaning, and we put them together, and then they have they describe a quality, a function, an essence of the divine. And then each of the names, each of the angel names end with either El or Yah, which indicate that these qualities are qualities of God. So some Kabbalists have said that El is like a masculine expression and Yah, I-A-H, is a feminine expression.
Okay, now you say that the Kabbalah that I've learned, and I'm not a big Kabbalah expert by any means, but as you mentioned, an oral tradition held sacred by a certain group of rabbis, right?
Yeah.
So what do they think about all this?
Well, they're long gone.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones carrying the tradition forward.
Well, it's interesting because the rabbis, there are no known rabbis in the Western world carrying this tradition forward, as far as I know. When the school was walled up in 1492, the Kabbalists working with the school, they were either killed, they converted, or they fled, and most of them fled to Safad, Israel. Now there is a school there. Safad is a known Kabbalistic and art little town, and from my understanding, you actually have to go up these narrow stairs up a mountain to get to this. And when I visited Israel, I had way too much luggage to do that. And I thought, okay, my next trip, you know. But and when I was doing, I've done like bouts of research over these last few years on particular aspects of this tradition, and it's funny because I called one of the Jewish societies in New York, and actually I called 2 or 3 of them. None of the rabbis would speak with me because I was a woman. And the other reason is that they didn't speak about angels, which was really interesting. You know, so the only people that are teaching in this tradition are still the people from Quebec who travel around the world, and that's it, myself. And then actually there's a company in England called Orasoma, which is a color therapy company, and I was working with them as a head writer for a couple of years. And they developed a whole series of courses around my book way before I even met them. And they train teachers, and they're teaching throughout Europe and Asia, which is kind of interesting. So I'm just finding out about a lot of this.
Well, we're honored to have you here sharing this with us today. I feel like this is cutting edge. Well, you know, for example, you don't have to give me a reading. I'm not asking for that. But the way this book is laid out is you find your birth date, yes, and then you find the corresponding angel. And mine is number 35, because I'm 9/16, born on September 16th. And so that is Habakkuk? Habakkuk. And so it tells you right here, as you go into this, you know, your angel sign or planet, which mine is Virgo and Jupiter, and the ruling planet, and then your choir and archangel, your intellect time, heart days, and incarnation date. Very easy to navigate. And in the back, there's actually charts and everything here. And it tells you your virtues and your inversions. So that's, the angels will work with you on those, correct?
Yes. So the virtues represent the qualities of the angels that when they're working in the positive potential within us. And those qualities are also, they represent qualities, gifts and things that you that you may resonate with, or that you may be challenged by. And sometimes people have found out they're angels because we each have at least 3. And you were talking about your incarnation angel, which corresponds to your life purpose, your physical being and your life purpose. So if that same angel were your heart angel, you would be working with those qualities through your heart, through your feelings, through your wisdom, you know, and emotions and all of that. In this case, with this angel, with Charlotte, she would be working on those qualities in her life purpose. They would be supportive of your life purpose and sometimes your actual life purpose. Choakia is reconciliation, and it's called. There's a whole thing we'll go over in the workshop. They're go and return angels. The go angels are externally manifested, and the return are supportive, inwardly manifested. So there might be some aspect of reconciliation, and then the virtues talk about what that means. specifically in the areas in which that would be governing reconciliation. So you might have some reconciling to do in order to do your life purpose.
So those that know me probably understand that could be the case. But that's no mistake. So I'll be first in line for that workshop today. And so it's, well, explain how the Tree of Life all fits in with this.
So the Tree of Life is a glyph in the Kabbalah cosmology, and actually the Tree of Life preceded, or at least is, it's related to the mystical aspects of most traditions. So there are many different trees of life in cultures and traditions and spiritual paths throughout the world. In the Kabbalistic cosmology, the Tree of Life represents the flow of creation from the unknowable, undifferentiated divine into knowable, perceivable, relatable qualities of itself. And the whole idea, there's such a beautiful concept behind all of this that's so related to our own lives. And that is that the divine in its oneness, it's all oneness, which put it together would be aloneness, right? The divine in its all oneness was not able to know what it was made of. It was not able to discern the detail of itself, and not only what it was made of, but what more it might be capable of. So it could only know itself through otherness. So, and it began, so with that thought, with that idea of otherness, there was this movement of first contraction, which is like the inhalation of breath, and then exhalation, which was accompanied with sound. And those first creator sounds began the process of creation and the process of emanation of the divine, first of all, into all of these differentiated, diverse, and multiplicitous aspects of itself. And those first creator sounds later became the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, each with a particular meaning and quality, of God, and expression of God, describing itself and what it was in that great I amness. Is that in the first sephirah, which is called Kether, or the crown, is the crown, the I amness. And so from that point on is I am, and then this is what I am. The rest of the Tree of Life is I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, So, and that's such an interesting I am that I am. We've all heard that, a good deal of our lives. But the Tree of Life represents this is that I am. So each sephirah has an overlighting archangel, and the first 9 sephirahs have 8 angels each. The 8 angels sort of were emanated into those spheres of sort of the 10 great attributes of God that are connected by those 22 letters. And the way it travels, the way the hierarchy of creation travels, I have a little thing here I can show you. So starting up here with this undifferentiated light, this is the first sephirah, Ketherah, and then it goes, and this is the crown, the head, governed by Archangel Metatron, and then it goes like this, and it goes just like the DNA helix. It's so interesting that it travels like that. And you mentioned in the meditation the Mother, Father, God, so this Kabbalists see the second sephirah, which is Chokmah, as the great Father, the Father God, and the third one, Binah, as the Mother God. And then everything proceeds from there, the Father and the Mother God. So it all comes down like this. There are 10 attributes of each. And at the very heart is the heart of the tree, the heart of God. It's so interesting, the song, The Garden, because this whole tradition is really a way for us to return to the garden, which is the heart of God, through our own spiritual essence and at the altar of our own hearts. So I just loved that the song was beautiful, but it was also so appropriate, because that's really, in a nutshell, what it all is, returning. And returning, not the idea of, okay, when we die we go to heaven, but returning at any moment, both while we are yet on the earthly plane, and doing so within our hearts and from one heart to another. And when it take it from one heart to another, we magnify the presence of the divine. There's that phrase, where two or more are gathered, there shall I be.
Right.
You know, which is a beautiful thing.
That is beautiful. Well, you know, we could spend hours here, but just on this, obviously. But I do want to touch base on this book. It's a very quick and easy read, and please explain how this came to be. And just the idea of it.
Okay.
During the whole dissertation.
Okay. Well, I was actually I had fallen down the stairs and with a big heavy box and very much hurt my tailbone and could not move for a number of days, and so I thought I was just getting ready to take a little vacation for organizing my office, so next to that, and so I sat down in the morning. It was a Sunday morning, nobody was around, and I started thinking about what mattered to me most, and I thought my lifelong themes, you know, it was like this is a real good moment for me to take stock. And I realized in that moment that the thing that had been a driving force was the search for truth my whole life, and all of its permutations, all of its dual nature of seemingly absolute at the heart and yet relative as there are numbers of people and people searching and wanting to know. And so I started to just write a little philosophical paragraph about that, and then out popped these two little characters, and Love said, well, what about me? So I was like, whoa, you know. So all of a sudden, these two characters, Love and Truth, were just little characters in my mind, and they started to tell me the story, and it just poured out. You know, I wrote it all day long, and I think I cried most of the time because it was such a teaching for me, because in my life I had been so much involved in this search for the truth that I had very often forgotten what this book taught me, which is that no truth is a whole truth without love. And this was you know, I mean, I kind of knew it, but I was given to feel it that day in a way that I had never quite felt it before, and it was very profound, and it had such an effect on me. And so the story was about, I don't know, in the terms of that book is about 70 pages now, 72 pages actually, and maybe it was 25 pages the first day, and over the next few months and the next few years, it grew and grew as I became, you know, the one listening became more able to hear, and every time I picked it up, I was given to be present again in a spirit of love, and because the more I loved while I was writing it, the more they could tell me, the more I could hear. And it was just such a simple, charming story. I haven't written anything else like it, and I love it myself because it's a continuing teacher for me. You know,
That's beautiful. Well, all of your works are wonderful, and certainly so grateful you were here today. But I'd like to offer anyone out here, would you like to ask Terah a question?
Yes.
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 I lived in Israel 11 years attached to a French embassy. And where is this town where you said they're teaching Kabbalah?
Well, it's Safad, and I don't know.
Safad, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they teach it. I don't know quite what the circumstances are, because the Israeli gentleman that was going to take me there was a little secretive about it and said that, you know, he would need to guide me to the right people there, and so I don't know a lot about how it's done, or how easy it would be to have access, or even how it's evolved from today. You know, everything in my book is coming from the French transliterations I was able to study. There was my purpose for like minoring in French in college. I finally found purpose for it. So I was so grateful at that moment when I realized, oh, this stuff is all in French, but I can pull out my dust off my French, you know. Yeah. So I don't know anything about, you know, how it's presented.
I mean, all the actors go there and they meet with the Kabbalistic people, and I don't know where they go. I would love to go.
Oh, interesting. So you know that they go there.
I think so, since they take the time to travel to Israel to meet with the Kabbalistic people.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, I know that there are Kabbalah schools in in Jerusalem and other areas, Tel Aviv and other areas as well. But I think the people, the rabbis in Safad are a different breed altogether. That's my impression.
Thank you.
Somebody over here?
How could the divine not know everything about itself?
Well, you would think it's an interesting concept, but you know, because I'm only a piece of the divine, I can't answer the totality of that question, but imagine that for a moment. Imagine us, you know, the Greek oracle says if you want to know God, know yourself. When we create things from ourselves, we see aspects of ourselves, we see our capability, we see more of ourselves than we can see when we're just thinking. We understand more of ourselves when we speak. We understand more of ourselves when we are in relationship. Otherwise, we're just kind of alone and living theoretically. You know, we can think things, we can have ideas of things, but it is in our expression that we really come to more fully be. I'll tell you just quickly, this was given to me in a lesson when I was walking in the forest one day. It was this whole notion between separation and unity, and the lesson that was being given to me was to understand that both are sacred, because separation, it's like, and what was given to me was fire and water. When fire and water are together, they extinguish each other. They become, you know, steam and then air, and there's nothing at all there. When they are separated is when they can each manifest into their fullest glory. You know, fire is just, it can both create and destroy, purify, etc. Water washes, heals, and inundates. When they're together, they become neither one. They are nullified, both of them. So that was given to me to understand that our life on earth in this state of seeming separation is just as sacred as unity, and that we need both, because when we are separate from each other in earth life, because we have this fourth component, which is carbon, which is earth, with, you know, that we are created of, we can individuate, we can become fully who we are, we can become infinitely more of who we are in our expression. And the beautiful thing about this is, because it's a two-way thing, it's this idea of returning, bringing heaven to earth, but also bringing earth back up to heaven. That when we individuate and have an experience, and we come in more and more into our fullness, we then return, because we are within God and God is within us, we return to the divine, the experience that we're having. You know, that it gets to feel what it's like to be you and you and you and you and me, you know, in a way, and that's part of the magic of the gift of free will, because it allows this to evolve in a way that is very much within our direction. We get to create also, just like God creates, we get to create. You know, every living being and creature has this ability to create, both generatively, you know, to create other human beings from ourselves, plus create from our thoughts and ideas, you know, so it's this two-way thing. So the way we individuate is through our separation, but the way that we come back into unity always, in any moment, is through our inner self. It's through our hearts, at the altar of our own hearts, and as I said before, from one heart to another. And a lot of us have this pull between, we feel guilty about separating or thinking of ourselves or whatever. Sometimes we're told that we're selfish, you know, but, and then we should be in unity. Well, we really should be in both, you know, and my experience is that the more individuated we become, the more we have the instinct, it's actually an instinct, to be of service, to offer our gifts to others, you know, so you don't have to make yourself be altruistic, you know, you actually have the urge, because when we are really loving our lives and loving what we do, don't we want to share it? I mean, most of us just like want to share it, you know, want to give something from ourselves, because it's like you can't contain it all yourself, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know.
So does that fit in with a Christian Trinity understanding that God is Creator, Son, and Spirit?
Does which fit in with that?
The individuation.
Well, if it fits in very much with the idea that God differentiated itself and is individuating itself through all of these different aspects. So the Spirit, the Holy Spirit of God, would be a way that we can ingest the essence of the divine at any time, at any moment, within our individuated, separate, beingness by being flesh on earth. And the Father, Son, and Christianity, of course, has kind of demoted the Mother God, but and we kind of reinvented a little bit through Mary. But the Kabbalists really feel that we've got the Father God and the Mother God. They're right up there on that in that first Trinity. Whereas the Christian Kabbalists see that as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Well, I think God is mother and father, but that's all right.
Well, I think God is all of it.
Well, and right now, that's what it's really coming back to is that balance again.
Yes.
So
well,
it's
including things. Religions have historically excluded things, including people.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Greg Braden said something in his, and I think he said it in his workshops, and I said this the other day, is do you believe that there is one great power, or do you believe there's more than one, and that affects how you're going to think about everything. Then because if there is one and the many exist within the one, then the many is an expression of the one, and the one lives within the many.
It's beautiful. Yes.
It is. It's
Thank
so
you,
beautiful.
Greg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terah. So, anyone else? One more question. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate the diagram that you showed, and understanding its reflection to the double helix, which we are. But I wonder if it could also be understood as an active, participating hologram in which we exist.
Yes, it is understood as
on an ongoing
that.
basis, and the various bridges, if you will, their various alignments, what they're. I just kind of feels like it's a holistic dance of ongoing creation, going from
you're absolutely
header to root, and this is, and I'm interested in okay, our the crossbars where we cross and so on. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that it's an ongoing holograph.
It is.
That
it is.
Works within us.
Yes, and I didn't get to that part. It's also a prototype for Universal Man called Adam Kadmon, which is a prototype. Adam Kadmon is the divine personified. It's the divine person, and each of these Sephira also are related to aspects of the human body and being. So you're absolutely right. The Kabbalists use this ongoingly as a glyph for the tree of life that lives within us.
As a constant, ongoing
holographic. Exactly. Creation is ongoing. Right. Through our own creations, the divine, the universe continues to expand. So it's, this is probably the biggest difference between religions, historically, and the divine itself, is that as soon as you have a religion, an organization, a corporation, you've got dogma, you've got rules, you've got ideas that get fixed, and then people feel they have to conform to them, rather than the divine itself, which is ever fluid. That's the beautiful thing about love. It's one of the things that's so beautiful about the life of Jesus and the stories there, is that Jesus showed how kinetic love is, that love doesn't, as he said, I come not to break the law but to fulfill it. So love that's at the spirit, at the heart of whatever we do, brings this fluidness, this ability to heal and to mend and to clean and to enable and to include, all of the things that promote life, that let life be ongoing.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Yes.
Okay, well, so
Great
we can.
discernment.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Well, Terah, before we close down here, tell our listeners how they can get to your website.
Oh, okay. My author website is www.terah, Terah, Cox.com. And you can get to everywhere from there. My books are on there, and all the information is on there, and there are links to go various places where you can get the book. Today I have the books and charts available at a considerable discount from both my website or Amazon or anything. So I just like to do that because it makes it easier. People can pick them up and you don't pay shipping and all
There
that.
you go,
But yeah, so you can, and my email address is on there and all of that as well. So pretty available.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful, and look forward to the seminar this afternoon. Thank you.
And I would say, by the way, that what I'm going to do in the workshop that's different is we're going to go into the birth angels and how to discover your birth angels and how to work with them and all of that. So we're going to get more into the personal aspect of it.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And I guess people can also get readings and even call in for readings, yes?
Yes, I do both phone and Skype, and my readings are not, they are consultations to really look at your life, your angels, sort of the constellation. The birth angels are kind of your spiritual family constellation, you know, and really look at what's going on in your life, in every aspect of your life, and the presence of the angels, and how to work with them to magnify and heal and all of that.
That's terrific. Well, thank you again. This has been
Charlotte.
wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.